Hi. Today we're going to look at how we rebuilt a legacy WordPress website and put it into Webflow. The tools we used were Hexomatic to actually scrape the old information. The WordPress website was so old that we couldn't even add plugins to pull the data down, so we needed to scrape it the old-fashioned way. We used Airtable to then host that information and create links between the data. We then used Webflow as a front end to then map the information and publish what turned out to be a 2,000 plus page website. So let's dive into the process. How did we do it? First, as I said, and I can't show you the legacy website because it's been taken down, but we scraped all of the pages and posts. So there was summaries, which are the summaries that were written by a person, a team member of Actionable. So you have a summary, you have a team member, which is a link, you have the author of the book, which is a link, and then you have blog posts, which were written by someone, and then you have team bios, which again are linked through together. So what we had to do is we had to scrape every single page. Hexomatic did it pretty well. There were some changes that I would do in future if I were to do this again, because the quality of data is everything with what you're working with. So I would have spent more time at the beginning making sure that I downloaded the correct information in the correct format. However, it's a learning experience, did it a couple of times. Since we've done this, actually, we've developed our scraping capabilities more. And so actually, we'd probably use a different tool like Apify next time. But this is how we did it. We downloaded it, put it into spreadsheets to start, and then we brought it into Airtable. And the reason I like Airtable over Google Sheets is for a number of reasons. Each of these records has an ID. This is the number in order, but if you were to change it, it still keeps the unique ID. Whereas in Google Sheets, if you were to accidentally reorder a row, then you might completely throw off all of your data. It also really helps when you're mapping things together. So for example, we have the summaries here. This is the information that we have scraped. This is the original URL, en.ca/. So we had to change that. A lot of 404 redirects down the line. A scrape order, I think that was an internal number I used just to make sure I understood where things were. The team then maps through to the team. So if you come through to this tab, you can see all the team members here, and then you can see exactly what summaries they've written and also what blogs they've written. This is a multi-relational database. So a team could write both a summary and also a blog. So this is where it sort of starts to get a bit complicated. So we spent a lot of time mapping the data together. For example, the blogs are written by a team member, but also has a category. And also, you might need the information in text. So this Airtable became fairly unwieldy at some point. But also the way that you map to Webflow, there's good tools like WhaleSync, but for this I didn't want to use it because it was early on in our journey. However, one of the tips, there's a couple tips and tricks for this, but when you export a CSV to then upload it to Webflow, you want to change the comma separated values to semicolons. That then allows it to map properly in Webflow. I'll try to dig out some of these other tips and tricks and put them in the comments, but there's a few little nuance type things. So what you want to do to start with is upload just the title, and then you download it again, because then you can map the collection ID, locale ID, and item ID. And then that means every time you then upload more information, it will map it using the item. Actually, the item ID is the only thing you need, but maps it using the item ID. If you were to try to upload all 549 records with all these fields, it might time out. So what I always suggest is to just upload one set of information, know what order it's in, perhaps upload the unique code alongside it. And then when you export it again, you've got the item ID. So then you're mapped. So you know that this is then related to the part in Webflow. So you have this backend information, which is great. As I said, spent a lot of time on this because when you then map it to Webflow, it makes it a lot easier. So when we come into Webflow, we have a certain number of pages. These pages pull in team members. So again, this would be a dynamic collection that pulls in team members. And I think the thing you need to remember with Webflow is that these are the collection pages, but this collection page will show a single version of the information. Whereas you then need to create pages that combine the information together and pulls it in. So let me show you an example of that. So we've got the authors template, which is here. The authors page, which pulls in all the authors. And then if you go into the authors template, it will show just a single version of it, pulling it from the CMS. It's a random version. You can, flick through different things and pulls the image in, pulls the description. And then this is where the mapping from Airtable to Webflow came in handy, because then we can link every profile of an author here and show every summary that they've written. If we were to then go to a page like the Teams template, so we can see Stephen Key, he's written a blog, but for some people they'll have written blogs and summaries. So gotta find someone. So summaries, yeah, no, I can't find one off the top of my head, but it changes depending. And if they haven't written any blogs, as you can see, it disappears dynamically. This information is all stored in Webflow's just changed their UX in this backend. So as you can see, we've got 1,154 summaries, 876 authors. So it's a huge number. And as you can see, we've got 1,154 summaries, which hopefully maps correctly. No, one off. That's close enough. Maps correctly to the back end. This is the information that I put in manually. Airtable to CSV upload, download, take the item ID and map it. And that's always a good first step, because you don't want it to time out. As I said, WhaleSync works. Actually, I've never used WhaleSync, but WhaleSync was actually the first video I watched that then taught me how to do these things, about 2 years ago. And so there's some good WhaleSync information out there. And if you're building this, for a client or for, your own internal website, WhaleSync means that anytime you edit something in the back end, it reflects it automatically. It's a two-way sync. For this, I just needed it to be one way, because the information stays static in the front end. Nothing really changes right now. And if they wanted to, you can create new items here and put information in, and it comes up. This was a sort of a whistle stop tour of how you can scrape legacy websites and rebuild them using Webflow. Any questions, put them in the comments and I'll try to answer them best I can. Thanks.